When you have deep clarity in your purpose, you'll never run out of stories to share, perfect fit clients to serve, and aligned partnerships to build. So if you're looking for deeper clarity on your own thought leadership brand, then download the first chapter of my audio course for free using the link in the show notes. Before I became a thought leadership consultant, I was a fundraising and marketing executive at a women's addiction treatment nonprofit. And my favorite thing to do was support alumni and patients in crafting their own recovery narrative, because the language we use about ourselves and our own story matters. In some ways, it creates our reality and the reality with which others see us through. And that's the reason I knew I had to kick off the Campfire Circle podcast with the one and only Quinn Conyers. And as soon as you listen to this replay of our conversation, I think you'll get it too. You are going to love Quinn's take on discount dialect versus luxury language, and probably pick up a few pointers to clarify your own messaging as an impactful business owner. And be sure to listen to the very end so that you can answer this question for yourself. Are you showing up as Steve Urkel or Stefan Urkel? So here's the replay of our conversation, which also happens to be episode number 1. Hey, I'm Tania Bhattacharyya, and you are listening to the Campfire Circle podcast. We are all about breaking down the boardroom table as the ultimate space of leadership, and instead replacing it with a campfire. Because that's where we share our stories. That's where we build warm community, and that is where there's always room. I'm building an impactful business in public through thought leadership, and I'm taking you behind the scenes all along the way. So if you want to stand out as you stand up for your mission, you are in the right place. Quinn Conyers transforms average events into epic experiences as an energetic MC, magnetic moderator, and fantastic facilitator for virtual, hybrid, or in-person events. She also trains women in business to turn conversations into cash, which I love. And I just have to say, folks, I first experienced the epicness of Quinn when I tuned in to the Done in a Day conference virtual summit where you, Quinn, were a keynote speaker. And I was actually driving up the California coast for a little getaway. And I realized, I only have 24 hours until these sessions expire. And so I plugged in your session into my Bluetooth as we drove. And I immediately, like a couple minutes in, I was like, okay, hold on. I have to pull over. This is the gems I can't hold them all while I'm driving. This is too good. This is magical stuff. And I had to take notes on the side of PCH because you are dropping so many gems. So welcome to the Campfire Circle podcast, Quinn. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely. So like I said, you commanded the audience, right? Virtually. You were on a little iPhone screen, at least for me. And I was absolutely captivated. So I can see how you turn conversations into cash because I felt it. But how did you learn how to do this, right? Tell me your story.
I don't think it's something that it was intentional, to be honest with you. I think that we're all born with gifts and talents, and it's other people who confirm and affirm us. So I would just show up how I am, and it would be people like you or people who are in the audience. Man, you had such conviction. You had such confidence. And I'm like, really? So once I just showed up as myself, I think that other people was like, no, you had such a presence. And then when I realized that, I just stood in it. Like a lot of women that I serve, they shrink or they settle. But I realized that the more I show up and I take up space, the more I am authentic, the more I can do what I do. I give permission for other women to do the same. So once I realized that you could sit or stand at any table with confidence, I began to walk into that. And then I realized very quickly that a lot of other women weren't doing this. So it would say, I was so pumped up. Like the next time I spoke, I would do this. So I just kept doing what I've always been doing. But I think the turning point was the awareness. It's like sometimes you do things or you show up in a certain way and you don't know that it's something special or unique. And it's somebody else who's on the receiving end who tells you that. And now there's awareness, there's a consciousness. And then once you're conscious, now you're more intentional and deliberate. And I know that I am always been told that my energy is high, that I'm a firecracker, that I'm a powerhouse. And I realized on virtual, especially, I have to amplify that because I'm one thing in person, but virtual, it's like a whole, you got to pull a little bit deeper. So if you're like, let's say boring in person, you're probably even more boring on virtual. So I know that it's really hard to keep people's attention. So if my energy is a 10, if I'm on virtual, I take it up to a 15 because I know that it's probably womp womp, another speaker, whatever. So it's like, I got to cut through that noise and really show up so I can grab and keep your attention. So to answer your question, I don't know if it's always been, it is, but I think more recently it's people letting me know. And that's how I'm walking more intentionally into it.
Yes, I love that. And I think that's why it's so important to let people know if they really moved you, if they really had something to say that you resonated with. You got to let them know. You got to let them know what lands. That feedback is so important. So one of the things that you talked about during that summit that I loved was discount dialect and luxury language. And I immediately put that into practice. But can you tell the audience a little bit about what that is?
Yeah. So what I realize is I work with a lot of women in business. Contrary to what people believe, they think I work with a lot of speakers. I do, but I mostly work with women who have raised their hand. They say, yes, I want to be an entrepreneur. Yes, I want to be a business owner. And a lot of them doesn't know that spokesperson also comes along with that position. So a lot of entrepreneurs, they're getting requests to be on podcasts. They're getting requests to speak, to do workshops and seminars. Like they're getting all these requests to be seen and heard. And many women don't know how to maximize or monetize those opportunities. But furthermore, a lot of women are being frustrated or they're being overlooked for potential opportunities. And it's not because they don't have an awesome and amazing business. It's just that they have not learned how to verbalize their value. They don't know how to articulate their awesomeness. It's like they feel like they have this elevator pitch and that's all they need to be successful. And I'm here to say that it's time for us to retire our elevator pitch because a lot of times, a lot of us women are using weak words to describe what we do. We're using what I call discount dialect, which is words and language that have people overlooking us, people not appreciating our value, words that make what we do sound really mediocre, but it's magnificent. But the way we explain it or articulate it, it doesn't come off that way. So I put those weak words in a category of discount dialect. And I know we're going to talk about one of my favorite words that's a discount dialect word that I feel should be removed from the business dictionary, right? But that is how it came up. And I would talk to women. I'm like, you've been doing this for 30 years, but you just described it as if you started doing it yesterday. Like your words are not matching your experience and your expertise. We need to change that. So that's discount dialect. It's words, language, phrases that really discount, dilute your experience, your expertise. And the flip side of that is replacing that with what I call wealthy words, luxury language, words, language that really take people from interested to investing with you. Words that really make people attracted to you versus repelling you. And a lot of us are repelling customers and clients and we don't even know it. A lot of us are turning customers and clients off when we can be turning them on. And you do that with your words and your language. And I think that we know the importance of language and words, but I feel like we forget when it comes to business. So we begin to use words and language that we hear the industry using, not understanding that those words are really hurting us. So I'm just on a mission to get women to rethink the way that they use words and language to market, promote, and position themselves. And we're being overlooked, not because we're not great, we're being overlooked because the way that we describe what we do really sounds mediocre and it's truly magnificent.
Oh my goodness. I can't tell you how many times I've been to a networking event in person or virtual, and we all have that opportunity to be, okay, tell us what you do for however long. And either they just go, well, the most interesting thing I've noticed is there's many individuals who just go on and on and on, and I still don't know what they do. I still have no idea. So give me an example. You mentioned there's a specific discount dialect word that people use over and over, and you want to take it out of people's language. What would that word be? We all probably use it.
Yeah. Oh, we do. And every time I do, I always know I'm going to get a couple of people who hate me, a couple of people who love me, and a couple of people who are completely blindsided because they think that what the word that they've been using is standard. They never saw anything wrong with it. But then when they get my perspective, they're like, oh, crap, you are right. I shouldn't use that word. But most people see it and they make changes. So the discount dialect word that I feel should be retired from the business dictionary is the word help. And the reason why I do not like that word for women is because we are already seen as nurturers and as helpful. So when you begin to market and promote your services as the help, that is how you are perceived. It is very different from when a man says he can help you. You know that there is a price tag attached to his intelligence. You know that there is an investment that comes with him helping you. He's not helping you because he's bored. But for some reason, that gets lost in translation with women, especially women who are entrepreneurs. So what happens is you want to start a business, I can help you. Need your taxes done, I can help you. Need more help with your social media, I can help you, I can help you, I can help you. And the way that women use help, we are perceived as the help. Oh yeah, she's going to help me. She's going to allow me to pick her brain. So what happens is we begin to get frustrated because people do reach out to us. And because we're just using help on our website, on Clubhouse, on social media, on everything, that people just want our help. Oh yeah, you said you can help me. I need you to help me. So this is my problem. Can you help me? And what happens is the person is just, oh no, that's an investment. And then there's a disconnect because we don't necessarily promote and market our services effectively. So much so that people are just coming to us for pick our brain sessions or coming to us to say, that was great information, but I don't want to do any more. So they want more information, not understanding that there's a price tag attached to us. And it's not always their fault. I'm like, how are you promoting your services? Are you promoting yourself as the help? Are you promoting yourselves as you can come pick my brain for free? Or are you using different language? So you can coach, you can assist, you can strengthen, you can advance, you can empower, you can create, you can elevate, but you don't help anyone. And I find that by making that simple shift in your language, it shows people that you are the businesswoman that you are. And some people, I don't do this, right? But if somebody says, well, Quinn, can you help me? And I'm like, I don't help. That's discount dialect. I don't do that to people because they don't know. So what I'll say, listen, I'll tell you what, let's you and I have a conversation. We can talk about what your needs are, how I can possibly support you, not help you. And then we can talk about what the investment will be. So I changed my language back so they understand that I can support you, but also I have a bachelor's, I have a master's, I have professional development, I have blood, sweat, tears, wounds, scars to know what I know. So that is going to cost you something. And we could talk about what that looks like. So when I hear discount dialect, because again, this is something that I have because women want to be helpful. And what happens is being helpful is hurting them, or they're not being taken seriously, or people just want to get the information for free. And I find that it's the language that we use. And I see it fist over fist with Black women. And that's why I super serve. But it's also apparent in women of color, minority women, period. But it's like a huge gap with Black women, especially. And that's why I go a little bit harder for that demographic, because they are completely promoting themselves as the help. Does that make sense?
That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. And I love how you explain that. And I have even noticed for myself as I started using luxury language, and I'll tell you some of my favorites, right? I used to say help all the time.
Right.
And I thought I was being good, right? Because I knew that that was better than at least just saying to people, oh, this is just my title. This is what I do. And I thought I was doing the right thing. But as soon as you taught me about luxury language, I started, instead of saying I can help you with LinkedIn, saying I can demystify LinkedIn. Instead of saying, that's my favorite word. That's my favorite word. Demystify, dismantle. Instead of saying I can help you with your imposter syndrome, I can dismantle imposter. We can do that together.
What's the reaction from people?
People are like taken aback, like, what? Like, you can do that? we can do that together? Where do I sign? Where do I sign? It helps bring out like Rihanna energy. Pay me what you owe me, because you're right. I have gone through this journey, this battle, this life to experience what I have gone through. And now I have the roadmap forward for you. I have figured it out. I have gone through the trial and error. So, and now you can have a luxurious VIP experience of, I can hand you the keys. And that costs something.
Because it costs you something.
Yes.
It costs you maybe years of getting it wrong to get it right. And that's the part that people don't think about. It's not the 5 hours, 6 hours for the VIP day. You're paying for the 6 years it took me to learn to teach it to you in 6 hours. So yes. And I love your luxury language word. That I love that. And that's how you cut through the noise, because everybody else is saying help. But when you talk about demystifying, people are like, oh, and that's what you want. Now they're interested, and that's what you want. They're not overlooking you.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about that in terms of you have rebranded the elevator pitch. People are not on elevators anymore.
Right.
It's too close for comfort. And whenever I'm on an elevator, like I'm not talking to the person next to me. I'm like on my phone. I'm like, and so you are like, no, let's rebrand the elevator pitch. And you have turned it into a verbal business card.
Correct.
Which I love. That tells a story, right? That tells a story. So tell me about the verbal business card. What is that?
Yeah, so the verbal business card, and you just gave me some language about rebranding the elevator pitch. I think that here's what we have to understand as entrepreneurs, that the number one question that you're going to be asked in business is not how many clients do you have? It's not how much money did you make? It's what do you do? That's the number one question. And I feel like if you want to be super successful and earn ridiculous revenue, you got to be able to answer that question. But most of us don't know how to answer the question. They're what I call, what you mentioned earlier, an on and on Olivia. Somebody who just goes on and on and on and on and on. And you're like, wait a minute, I don't understand. I'm over it. I'm checking out. But what happens is most people feel like, oh, I have my elevator pitch. And they think that's enough. Like, I know when people ask me what I do, I give them my elevator pitch. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not hitting the mark. So it's like the elevator pitch, for the most part, like you said, it needs to be retired, right? People are not necessarily meeting people on elevators and CEOs. They're meeting people on social media. They're meeting people in conferences. They're meeting people at networking events. So it is a verbal business card is an elevated and enhanced way of telling people what it is that you do. It is telling people what you do with pride. It's telling people what you do with confidence and clarity and creativity. So people will remember you and not overlook you. And the elements of a verbal business card is very different from the elevator pitch, because it's also results driven and it's value driven. So you're letting people know up front, if you work with me, here's what you can expect in exchange for your yes. Here's what you can expect in exchange for your investment. So you work with me, I can teach you how to turn conversations into cash. I could say I'm a public speaking coach for entrepreneurs, but it's not sexy enough. But you understand, turn conversations into cash. What is the result? Conversations that lead to cash. What is the value? Conversations that lead to cash. So a lot of times people are telling people what they do, but they're not telling people how they can rock the world and blow their mind. And that's where the verbal business card, it's letting people know what they get in exchange for their yes, what they can expect once they decide to work with you. And a lot of people don't tell people that until they swipe their credit card. I believe you need to tell that person up front the value. And most people know what they do, but they don't know how to verbalize what they do. They don't know how to articulate what they do. So part of the verbal business card that I work with clients is not only do we figure out the words to accurately describe what you do, I also give you the confidence to say what it is that you do, because most people are like, I know what I do and it's not coming out quite right. So we know it's great and we settle for what comes out of our mouth, and we don't do any type of work or professional development to hone in on that. So women will literally pay for a coach. They will pay for branding. They'll pay for a website. And then you ask them what they do and they can't answer the question. So that's what the verbal business card. It is a clear, concise, and compelling way to tell people what it is that you do in a way that is creative, clear, and also concise.
Yes. And even the fact that it's called a verbal business card, because you're telling a story essentially, because if you're telling about the results that they will have once they say yes with you, you are giving them the vision. You are painting a picture for them. And so essentially you're telling them the story of what will happen if they get to work with you. And stories are generative. That's something that they're going to take as if it's a tangible business card, put it in their pocket and remember. They're going to remember you. You're going to be the only one they remember from that networking event because you were different. You were different. And one of the things that you said that really stuck with me during the summit was that your product or service is someone's ticket to freedom. And I'm going to say that again, because it just, that stuck with me. Like I put that in my pocket and carried that around. So your product or service is someone's ticket to freedom. But like you said, we get in our own way and forget, and we stay small and we stay silent. And that's just what we've been trained to do in a lot of ways. And we undervalue ourselves and stay underappreciated. And so I think it is about confidence. And I don't know, do you have any specific tips other than really being able to come up with our verbal business card and to work with you to get clear on that? How do we come into every interaction? How do we stand at any table or sit at any table we're at and call on our innate confidence? How do we become more confident?
Yeah, I think that it's to become intentional about your language. Just like you went from help to demystify. I think that once you're aware, be intentional, clean up your LinkedIn, clean up your Facebook pages, go to your website, remove all the discount dialect, replace it with luxury language, but really go deep on be intentional about your language. Like a lot of people don't know that they need me until they experience me. So it's not, nobody's walking around with a gash that's open. I need assistance immediately. Nobody's doing that. But I think once you have an awareness, once you have an awakening, you have a responsibility to your greatness to show up that way. So it's once you are, because again, I don't go around saying, oh my God, don't say help, you're horrible, because you don't know. So that's why I expose, listen, what you do is so magical. Let's go ahead and describe it differently. Can we say that you demystify? Can we say that you assist? Can we say that you empower? Can we say that you strengthen? Can we say that? And like once you have this, what I call mental makeover, it's your responsibility to show up as the new and improved you that always existed. And I think that many of us really settle for good and great because we don't know that grand is available. So we just settle. So we're like, yeah, I can help you. I can do this. But it's like, once you know, once you're aware, you need to be intentional about the words and the language that you use. So I'm like, yeah, people, and it's all kinds of words. Like people come to me and be like, listen, I heard you talk. How much do you cost? And I'm like, well, I don't cost anything, right? I said, so why don't we do this? Let's have a conversation about where you are and see if a verbal business card will make sense for your business, and we can discuss the investment options. So I'm very mindful of the language, because if I ask you what's the price or what's the cost, you want me to spit out a number where I'm focusing on the value that I can offer you. So does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. Language is so generative. And yeah, that's amazing. Okay. So when you said you have a responsibility to your greatness, I kind of like woke up a little bit. And I said, oh my goodness, because we go into business because we see a big vision. We are purpose driven. We want to change the world in a way through our business and through our work. So if you were able to work with every woman out there who needed you, and there's a lot, there's a lot. If you were able to work with all of them, how would the world change? How would life be different? How would Earth be different?
Oh, that's such a great question. It will be different because there's something magical about a woman who knows who she is, and she can articulate that to the world without shrinking or settling. So the world will be a better place because there are more women who would walk with their head tall. They would stand out versus trying to settle or sink in. They would be reminded that all their years of experience wasn't in vain, and they would toot their own horn. I think that a lot of times there will be a mental shift that would happen. A lot of times in many cultures, women are supposed to be seen but not heard. Don't speak unless spoken to. You have a whole generation of women who can't even choose who they want to love. They're child brides. So someone is choosing who should be their husband. You got literally in the religious world where some people believe that women can't pastor or preach. You got some people, religions where you have to literally, the woman can't even stand next to her husband. She has to walk behind him. So it's almost my message. If women could embrace and adopt the whole mindset of luxury language, the world would be waking up in a different way, and men would have to move over and pay respect to homage. I think that men already know how great we are, but we don't know that. So they're getting away with stuff they shouldn't because we won't challenge them. Because in our household, we were told never talk back to dad. Just do what you're told, be quiet. So it's like if the world and women understood the power of their voice, and that's what I want to do. Part of my mission and vision is to unmute us, is to unsilence us. Because when you speak up and speak out, there is a liberation that happens within the inside, but also you are giving permission for other women to speak and live and breathe their truth. So that's what it is. It's not just about the words. It's about the liberation of you and who you are and what you do, because we've been told to shrink and settle and be little and be small. And a lot of us are giants, and we haven't had permission to stand tall.
Yes. 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 All I can say is yes. Oh, so good. So good. Okay. So Quinn, I love going on LinkedIn. And I looked at your page, and you had a post that went viral. It had over 40,000 engagements, and it was a box of Band-Aids.
Yes.
For the first time, that box of Band-Aids was offered in the color of your skin. And there's another box they offer that's in the color of my skin.
Yes.
And to me, that is a powerful statement. It's a powerful story. And there were not so many words on the post, but I was right there with you. And so I wonder, you turn conversations into cash. What is your tip? Give me your tips for telling a powerful story.
I don't think, and with that post, which is so interesting, I think now it's at 1.6 million views 40,000 comments that I think it's just telling, just being visible and just telling the story and being authentic to whatever moves you. I think that sometimes people get caught up because they want a recipe for success. They want a tip on how to go viral. But I think it's you being authentic, you sharing your truth, you giving your personal insight, and then the universe will respond to that. So I don't know if it's a secret sauce. I just think that I am authentic to Quinn and I don't hold back. I don't shut down. I show up as who I am and then the world responds. I think that's what it is. So I think it's being okay with telling your story and telling your truth. I got a lot of praise for that particular post, but I got a lot of backlash. People were going, and I'm like, lady, what is your problem? But I know that part of my assignment is a disruptor. I'm not supposed to be everybody's best friend. I'm supposed to open up your eyes. And what happens is sometimes, your truth could be a hard pill to swallow. And I think that especially if you are a minority living here, people don't like when you rock their world. They don't like to be challenged. So when I do that, I'm like, listen, to you, it might not have been a big deal, but everything, baby dolls, Band-Aids, stockings, pantyhose have been made for the general. So if you find something that that somebody made with you, your culture, your ethnicity in mind, it's a breath of fresh air. So I'm going to celebrate that. So if I rub you the wrong way, get off my timeline. But I think that I am okay with that. But what happens though, is bigger than me. When I can show up like that, then there's other people like, it's almost like a movement. Yeah, me too. I want to stand in my greatness. I felt the same way, but I'm thinking what Quinn said. I'm going to say it with respect, with love, but it needs to be said. So I think that storytelling is just what we do. It's how we connect. I don't think it's something that I try. I just do. And then people respond. So I have no tips on how to go viral. All I know is I can say whatever resonates with you, whatever pisses you off or turns you on, talk about those things. That's it. Because anything emotional is what's going to be the best story and get the best reaction.
Yes. Be you, be authentic. And by doing so, you create the space for other people to have their own human experience. I love that. That is the assignment. Amazing. So I have kind of a fun question for you, Quinn. So when you talk about luxury language, and I don't think we can even necessarily come at it from luxury language unless we understand the experience of luxury and of taking care of ourselves. And so I want to ask you, what is your favorite luxurious experience?
Well, I love to travel. That's probably like my favorite luxurious experience, but I'm just from a business standpoint, I'm a lover of words as well. And you said it, I'm all about an experience, not just an event or a one-time thing. But I feel like I take joy in showing people what it is that they do and how that can be upgraded into a luxurious experience. So it's like most people feel like, well, I'm just a photographer or I'm just a this. And then my unique ability is to say, no, you're not just a photographer. You capture the legacy of families who want to have memorable photos that last a lifetime. And then their eyes are like, I do that. So I think where I take joy and what is so fulfilling to me is when I work with people and they come to me with what they do. And it's very basic. It's very boring. It's very bland. It's like going out to a restaurant and it has no seasoning. And then they come to me and it's like they're upgraded into this 5-course luxurious meal experience. That's what I love about what it is that I do. I call it like message makeovers. It's like you ever watch one of those shows and a person has like long hair. They haven't cut it for 25 years. They have on grungy clothes. And then and within an hour, they make them over. They cut their hair. It's like, it was always the same person, but now it's the same person luxurious. It's the same person enhanced. It's the same person elevated. I like to do that with people's speech and communication and what they do. That is how I like to do, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. And then you get to hold up the mirror after the makeover and they're like, wow, that's me.
Yeah. And people cry. And I'm like, wow. Because I've been doing this for 30 years. Nobody has ever made me sound that worthy. And I'm like, wow. Nobody has ever told me that I did it the way you just explained it. That is what I do. So it's an emotional liberation for people too. You got people going around saying, oh yeah, I'm just a secretary. I'm just an administrative assistant. And I'm like, no, You create systems and processes for individuals with big vision who struggle with details. And they're like, oh, yes, that's what I do. But I didn't have the words to say it. So I love your analogy. There's this mirror and I'm just turning it around. This has always been you, but you didn't know how to articulate it. So let me serve you and let's articulate this. Let's make what you do luxurious. So one of the things that I always talk about, because I'm an 80s baby. I don't know when you were born, but I'm an 80s baby. And there's a lot of shows. I love like Fresh Prince. I love Family Matters. It's one of my favorite shows as well. And I'm a huge analogy person. Like when I speak, I want you to hear me, but I want you to see me. I want you to have a full-fledged, I'm an experience, right? So I realized that for those of you who have never watched Family Matters, Google it. There's a character that's like basically dominates the show. His name is Steve Urkel. Steve Urkel is the nerdy neighbor next door who has this huge crush on one of the Winslow daughters, which is Laura Winslow. And literally, he's just nerdy. He's annoying. Nobody really pays attention to him, but he's super smart, gifted, has a good heart, just clumsy, right? He ends up creating like this formula, which turns him into another person. It's who he's always been, just enhanced. So that's how I explain and articulate what it is that I do. So it's almost like it's always been you. It's just you defined. It's just you redefined. It's just you even bigger and better. And there's nothing wrong with Steve Urkel, but people are overlooking it. He's nerdy. I don't want him. But as soon as he took this formula and he transformed into Stefan Urkel, he was turning heads. He was getting people's attention. So it's like, it's you already, but let's how to figure out how to doctor you up, how to make you enhance so people don't overlook you, but they can't help but pay attention to you. So I always give that analogy because we all know Steve Urkel, but we also know Stefan Urkel. And if you ask people about Steve Urkel, they're going to explain him differently than how they would explain Stefan Urkel, even though it's the same person. It's just how he is showing up in the world is different. So people respond to him different.
That is my favorite analogy of all time. I'm definitely an 80s baby. It was TGIF every Friday. Yes. Love it, love it, love it. And yes, you have to find your inner Stefan Urkel. He's in there. He's waiting to show up. Get him out of there. Get him out of there. Yes. I'm so obsessed with you, Quinn. I can't. So
I love it. I love it.
Okay. How can the good people listening in find you? How can they work with you? How can they stay in touch with you?
Yeah, so definitely I'm on LinkedIn. That's the best way I tell people find me on LinkedIn because that's where the serious entrepreneurs and business owners play. So definitely find me on LinkedIn. So just stay connected with me. Connect with me on QuinnConyers.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn. That way I can let you know what I have going on. And if you want to connect with me and you're interested in learning how I can turn your elevator pitch into a verbal business card, just shoot me a message. Tell me that you found me on this podcast and we could talk about what it would look like if we were to work together. So Quinn Conyers, literally find me first name, last name across all social media platforms. That is where I am.
Amazing. Amazing. Quinn, thank you so much. You are just an amazing bright light. I can't wait to continue watching you soar and do what you do. And yeah, thank you so much.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you've heard from us. Now I want to hear from you. Leaving a review helps us so much in growing our reach and supporting more folks with this podcast. And even better, I would love for you to send me a note on LinkedIn with your takeaways from this episode. I cherish and respond to every message, so I can't wait to hear from you. And if you want to go even deeper, check out the show notes to take your next step.